Rob Reiner once explained that becoming a father rewires your understanding of fear. It is no longer sudden or explosive, but quiet, constant, and impossible to outrun. In one of his final public interviews, he spoke with a calm that felt almost unnatural, admitting that loving his son had never been a question, but saving him had become an uncertainty he could not conquer. Those words, rediscovered after his death, now echo with unbearable weight. They were not the reflections of a man looking backward, but the uneasy thoughts of a father standing on the edge of something he sensed but could not stop. There was no bitterness in Rob's voice when he spoke. No blame, no anger. Only exhaustion. He talked about the limits of control, about how parenting eventually teaches you that devotion does not equal power. He described the slow realization that you can give your child everything: love, shelter, opportunity, protection, and still be unable to guide them away from harm. For someone whose career had been built on shaping stories with hopeful endings, this was a truth he could not rewrite. The director who once orchestrated laughter and connection was now confronting silence and helplessness in his own home. Long before he became a father, Rob had grown up learning how heavy a legacy could feel. As the son of Carl Reiner, his childhood was filled with humor, creativity, and iconic figures who would later become legends. The house was alive with laughter, but beneath that warmth lived a pressure few children know how to name. Being surrounded by brilliance can inspire, but it can also intimidate. Rob learned early that admiration often came with comparison, and that praise was sometimes quieter than expectation. He spent years wondering whether he was truly enough on his own, or merely an extension of a name that already filled the room. That internal struggle shaped the kind of artist Rob became. Instead of chasing applause, he leaned into stories about vulnerability, about boys searching for belonging, about friendships that carried people through grief, about the ache of feeling unseen. His films often centered on emotional honesty rather than spectacle, as though he were quietly working through questions he had never fully answered himself. Success followed, but it did not erase memory. It only sharpened his awareness of how easily identity can be overshadowed by legacy. When Rob became a father, he carried those lessons with him. He made a quiet promise that his children would not grow up suffocating beneath his success. He chose presence without pressure, love without force. He believed that stepping back could give them space to become themselves. Yet fame has a way of lingering, even when you try to soften its edges. A famous name can become a mirror children are forced to look into long before they understand who they are. Rob understood this, and still hoped that love would be enough to counterbalance it. In his later years, Rob spoke more openly about fear, not the fear of failure, but the fear of watching someone you love drift further away despite your efforts. He admitted that there are struggles parents cannot fix, no matter how much time, money, or care they invest. It was a painful acknowledgement, one that stripped away the comforting illusion that good intentions guarantee good outcomes. His honesty was not weakness, it was the courage to admit that some battles are larger than any one person. The tragedy that followed did more than shock the public. It revealed the quiet reality behind a life that had seemed full of warmth and success. Rob Reiner, the man who taught audiences how connection could heal, was forced to confront a truth no parent wants to face, that love does not always save, and understanding does not always arrive in time.